proclamations and whatnot. Are there any additions to the agenda beyond what's in the iPad? Yeah. Oh, I've been dying, man. Nothing. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. First item on the agenda, therefore, would be the minutes of our public meeting of November 1st. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Tessinger, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Any errors or omissions recorded in the minutes of November 1st? Hearing none yet. You have no idea how I've suffered, John. Since Friday. Yeah. Can't swallow it all. Really? No, it's not good. Back on course here. Hearing none, I'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. I'm looking now then for business arising. Again, from the minutes of November 1st, Councillor Tessier.
Just one item, Your Worship. Item 728, the Remembrance Day ceremonies. I just wanted to comment. It was held, of course, this past weekend, or this past Friday. What a tremendous crowd showed up for the Remembrance Day service, for the March in the Service down at Park Place. And I just wanted to commend the community, all the community groups that, took it upon themselves to bring their children out, the Beavers, the Scouting, the Girl Guides, and of course all the members of the public that came out to participate, of course, in this event, which I'm happy enough to say looks like it's gaining steam as opposed to losing steam. And it was pretty chilly. It was a sunny day, but it was pretty chilly.
6 degrees.
Oh yeah, but it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful to see so many members.
You golf on a day like that.
Yeah, but it was wonderful to see so many members of our community there to acknowledge the people who've paid the supreme sacrifice for our freedom.
How many figure were there?
Oh, hundreds.
Couple grand? 2,000? What?
650.
You say that like you know it. Oh, okay.
You sounded like he's blowing smoke.
I know. Anyway, again.
Stop being a politician.
Again, I just wanted to commend the public for coming out and certainly acknowledging
Amen.
that event.
I think that's well done, well said. It was a great day. I think there was around a little over 1,000 people. It was certainly one of the biggest ones ever. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and that speaks volumes for the community. It was good to see. Any other business arising? Any items from business arising for the minutes of November 1st? All right. If not, we're going to move on. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury this evening, we have to do some swearing today. And I'm very good at it. Especially on the golf course. We want Superintendent Tilley to come forward here. And he is going to bring Ray Sturge with him. And Ray is our newest member of our municipal police force. I'm going to get you to come around here, Ray. Right in by me. Right in by me. Yeah, so we can get you on the camera here. Ray is the newest member of our municipal police force. He's obviously done the probation and everything, has he, Chief? And he's ready now to be kept on.
Ready to be turned loose.
Ready to be turned loose on the community.
Correct, yes.
Constable, right title for you right now, Constable Sturge.
Sure.
What I'm going to get you to do, are you affirming or are you going to take an oath?
I'll take an oath.
Take an oath. If you would, I'm going to simply ask you to hold this in your hand and read what's here, and then you and I will sign it, and you will sign it, and then we're done.
Okay.
All right, so if you would, I'd ask you to read that. Nice and clear.
I, Ray Sturge, do solemnly swear that I will and truly serve our Sovereign the Queen in the position of Municipal Enforcement Officer without favor or affection, without malice or ill will, that I will see and cause Her Majesty's peace to be kept and preserved. I will prevent, to the best of my power, all offences against the same, and that while I continue to hold this said office, I will, to the best of my skills and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof faithfully according to law, and that I will not directly or indirectly, without due authority, disclose to any person any information or other matter that may come to me in the performance of my employment as a municipal enforcement officer for the city of Mount Pearl, so help me God.
Ray Sturge, we are going to sign this, both you and I. And I need you over there to sign that. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. Well done. Our newest officer, everybody. Tilly, anything to say? Or are we all good?
Just, welcome aboard, Ray. He's definitely going to be an asset to the Community Service Department, to the Municipal Enforcement Team, and to the city.
That's wonderful. And welcome aboard.
Get a picture, Dave. Can you shake hands again?
Oh, you want to do this like that? All right. Well, let's get the chief in here close.
Where's that microphone?
Yeah, we got to get you a photo course or something.
Well, it's done all that. Payroll people are waiting for you.
Thanks. Right. Welcome aboard, man.
Well done, Ray.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the super, when they're in their dress uniform, like at the Remembrance Day thing, they really look sharp.
Wasn't that lovely?
Gotta say, it really looks good. Anyway, that's our newest municipal enforcement officer. Now he's got to go to work. That's good. He's on shift as we speak. All right, we have a number of other proclamations here to deal with today. I have here as well a Peace Week proclamation. I think I do. Yes, I do. We have no one here from the YMCA today, so I'll simply read it into the record and sign it accordingly, and we will notify them of this. Whereas the annual YMCA Peace Week encourages thought and dialogue through peace from a personal, community, and international perspective. And whereas for more than 150 years, the YMCA has believed in and promoted peace-building efforts both at home and abroad. And whereas the YMCA is dedicated to teaching children and youth about the many dimensions of peace, such as tolerance, inclusiveness, caring, respect, and responsibility. And whereas the YMCA Peace Week has been recognized annually around the world since 1854, by the way, I therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims, do hereby proclaim November 19th through to the 26th, 2011, as YMCA Peace Week here in the city of Mount Pearl, to which I will now affix my signature and ask the Deputy Clerk to see to it that that gets into the hands of the good folks over at the YMCA. Anybody with a comment? Okay. The second that we have here would be, and we have two more. The next one is from the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And this is a proclamation regarding Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month. We have with us Ms. Catherine Parnell, who is president of the Eastern Avalon chapter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Come on up if you would, Catherine. And we also have Ms. Carolyn Johnson in attendance today as well, who is one of the chapter volunteers. And what we're going to do is we're going to sign this proclamation for you. We're going to read it into the record, sign the proclamation, and Catherine, you'll tell us a little bit about your plans then. All right. Whereas the Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month is a call to action to advance public understanding of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will celebrate the courage of more than 200,000 Canadian men, women, and children living with these two debilitating diseases. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will celebrate the courage of more than 200,000, I did that already, it's there. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will encourage Canadians to help find a cure for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And whereas Canada may be a leader in educating other countries about inflammatory bowel disease, therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor, do hereby proclaim that November 2011 be observed as Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl, to which I will affix a signature. I'm going to give you this now. Okay, Catherine, and I want you to just tell us a little bit about your plans for the month.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to come in and to have this proclamation signed. As Randy mentioned, it is Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month, and that's the big thing. So many people are not aware of just what the disease is and how terrible it is for the people who have it. Though I'm willing to bet that every single one of you in this room has some connection to someone who has one, who has that illness. They've done a study in fall of 2010 of people who have it, and from that study they've realized, well, a lot of people who have it know already, but the people with it, right now we have 1 in 160 Canadians have Crohn's or colitis. In Newfoundland, it might be 1 in 150 because we have a higher incidence. People who have it are, depending on what's going on with them, when they're having a flare-up, they might have to go to the bathroom 20 times a day. Picture that at work. So people have lost jobs or changed their careers or, had to bow out of school and so on. People have had accidents. So think what that does to a young kid wanting to be in sports, for instance, And we want to make people aware of all of these things. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of Canada is actually a fundraising group that are trying to raise funds for research. And as Randy said, we are actually right now the world leader. Canada, because of this group, is the world leader in funding and doing research. And we have made great strides, and we're hoping to, right now they're talking that, eventually they might find a cure in 50 years, but we're looking to fund enough research to maybe find a cure in 20 years. That's still not fabulous, but it's better than it is now. Because as it stands now, right now we don't know what causes it, and we don't know what will cure it. We can control the symptoms in some ways. Now, believe me, though, for someone who's suffering, if they're having a flare-up, the pain is horrendous. It's not easily, I'm saying control the symptoms. That's not always the case. It's not easily done. So we want to make people aware of just how debilitating this illness is and how it affects people. Not only, like I said, the very time of being sick and all that, but let's face it, if you're a kid who've had this, would you go out for a hockey team, and things like that when you might have to, take off the ice, or worse again, have an accident on the ice and things like that. We're trying to make people aware of this and, like I said, looking to find a cure that will eventually end this horrible illness that affects people so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, very much. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this again now. All right. Get another snack taker here, you and I. You get in close, right? Right there. That's right. She's not our greatest photographer,
Okay, one. Is there a cheapest? Three.
You're supposed to cause the fair.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't know if I continue to do it.
We have one other proclamation this afternoon, Council, and that proclamation is from the Diabetes Awareness Month. You have somebody from the organization. Don Osmond is here. Hi, Don. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to come up. I'm going to sign this. I'm not going to have you talk. I know you don't want to talk, but then we're going to get our little picture here after we've done that. Okay? So you come on by me for a minute. You think about how many things attack us in life.
But you know what's really important, though, what we're seeing is the awareness piece of it.
But the awareness piece is rising all the time. It just, we have the high, in Newfoundland and Labrador, per capita highest rate of bowel cancer, highest rate of breast cancer, highest rate of prostate cancer, highest rate of Crohn's and colitis disease. We have, by far, we outstrip the entire nation in what we're about to do now, diabetes. My God. Anyway, here we go. Proclamation for the Canadian Diabetes Association. Whereas diabetes is a serious condition, and whereas more than 9 million Canadians, to prove the point, live with diabetes or pre-diabetes, and whereas nearly 1 in 4 Canadians either have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and whereas more than 20 million are diagnosed with the disease every hour of every day, and whereas the cost of diabetes in Canada is approximately $12 billion and is expected to rise to $16 billion by 2020, and whereas the Canadian Diabetes Association is leading the fight against this disease by helping people with diabetes live healthy lives while working to find a cure, and whereas 2011 is the 90th anniversary of the discovery of insulin, a gift Canada has given the world, I, therefore, Mayor Randy Sims, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2011 as Diabetes Awareness Month, and November 14th as World Diabetes Day in the city of Mount Pearl. And I think we're a day late on that one. But I am going to affix my signature to this. And Don, I'm going to present this to you today, like that. And smile at the man. Smile at our photog here.
1, 2, 3.
There you go. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know the Canadian Diabetes Association. I know Caroline Smith very well, who, by the way, is a counselor. I don't know if you fellows know that or not. Yeah, in Torbay. And they just do outstanding work in the community. And all of us have to be appreciative of and thankful for the work that they do. That is it for proclamations today. Correspondence, I have none. It indicated here that there was no report from Public Works Committee. That turns out not to be the case today. Councillor Walsh, you do have something for us?
Yeah, just one thing, Your Worship, and I should mention too that we had an oversight. The last meeting we had put forth a notice of motion for the garbage container thing, which we didn't include in the kit when I saw it today. So we're going to delay that by just 2 weeks, bring in the actual motion for the next time. We just noticed it just prior to the start of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
The one item that we do have here, Your Worship, is for a new vehicle. These don't come cheap. We only had one bid on the tender that we put out, and that was from Hickman Motors for $48,345.54. And of course, that's for a police cruiser. An awful lot of the money associated with that are the additional items that go into the to the cruisers themselves. I think it's a basic Impala is what it is, but with an extra $15,000 or so of dressing. So, with that in mind, I ask for the support of council to support the motion for the purchase, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any question or comment? This is a replacement vehicle, not an expansion to the fleet. Is that correct?
As far as I know, it is an expansion.
It's an expansion?
Yeah.
All right, it's an expansion of the fleet.
Yeah, now
All right,
maybe-
so how many will we have now? Because I know we had 2. This gets us up to 3, does it?
We would have the two cars that will be used on a regular basis,
Right.
and then the Jeep that is used periodically.
Yeah.
The Jeep is much more useful, certainly in the summertime. It's good for getting out on the trails if need be. In the wintertime, the Jeep is very good. Otherwise, they will use the vehicles the majority of the time.
All right.
The part of the issue, part of the reason of holding on to the other vehicle is the number of miles on it, but also the money that we've put into it, and I think Tina might be able to speak to this a little bit, but the money that we've put into it, it wouldn't, for a resale value or what have you, we're only going to get a few $1,000s for it, whereas we may as well keep it in the fleet, use it for a few more years. Once that one's gone, we'll still have the 2.
All right, that's fine. Anybody else with a question or comment? If not, I'll call it. All those in favor and contrary minded, and the motion is carried. And that's the only thing you had, I'm assuming, Councillor Walsh, was it, for Public Works today?
It is.
All right. All right, get moving, machine. Don't let us down. Community Services, Councillor Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, is it ever weird sitting in this chair? In this vantage point? I guess I got shifted up to make room for the new councillor. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's right. You're in Paul Lane's seat
Well, I sat in
there.
the chair and it was just no. But anyway, it's bizarre. It's a strange vantage point, just the same. You didn't even notice. Yes, the hands. We have a short agenda this evening, Your Worship. It's hard to believe, but we're talking about Christmas already. We're talking about the holidays.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
I know the Mount Pearl Lions Club Santa Claus Parade is going to hold their 56th annual parade on December the 3rd, Saturday, December the 3rd. Of course, the route is going to be the same. It's going to go from Mount Pearl Intermediate all the way down to down Ruth and Park Avenue, down to Mount Pearl Square, as it always has. St. Vincent de Paul Society are going to be collecting food donations along the route, so we certainly encourage everybody to package up any non-perishables that they have. And also they're asking for loonies that can be donated to the Community Food Sharing Bank. They're saying loonies, but of course if somebody wants to give the food bank a 5 or a 10 or a 20 or even greater, I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to have it. So if anybody's interested in entering a float or a group, they just have to call Gerald Coombs at the Mount Pearl Lions Club at 368-6186. And of course, if somebody needs that number, they could just call City Hall again, and we'd be happy to forward that information along as well. So that's for information purposes.
Thank you. Got to stop you. Are we on a float?
I'd say.
Are we going to do what we did last year? We were on a float, right? That was
Yep.
our first time doing that?
Yeah. I'm okay with the float.
It was cool.
We get separated, I think. I think
There
we
was
get
a little
separated.
problem with
when
the
we're separated.
footing, and it was cold. I think more than cool.
Oh, dress up.
Listen,
Put
you were
on
the
a
one just
sweater.
complaining about the nicest November 11th weather, and you were saying it was
Put
cold.
on a sweater. Put on your Santa hat. Will keep your head warm.
Get on your Montreal Canadiens up.
Oh my gosh, that
Your
is
Montreal
abuse.
Canadiens underwear.
Yes, I think that hiding them would be the most wise choice at this point.
Yes, because
in the
it's not as if
season.
they're not as if it has anything to do with hockey.
Anyway,
All right. Montreal.
Next item.
Montreal Canadiens. Let us move along.
next item, Your Worship. Of
Dear
course, on that
Lord.
exact day, as tradition has it, that's right, as tradition
Detroit.
has it, on that day we have our tree lighting ceremony as well here in Centennial Square. At 6:30, the Girl Guides are going to be there leading us, of course, in our favorite Christmas carols. So we're going to encourage as many residents as possible to come out and join us that night because it's always a lovely event and it's a great way to kick off the holiday season.
Have you ever had the hot chocolate?
I have not.
I love the hot chocolate. That's just telling you. That's all. It's great. All right. Anyway,
I want to mention, Your Worship,
Councillor Stiles.
thanks to a staff member, Krista Tucker, the time has changed this year. Every other year we would have the tree lighting at 6 o'clock, and this
Yep.
year at 6:30. A request had come in from some of the churches, especially one of the church that I go to, St. Peter's, that the church service at 5, and by the time they get out at 6, it's never really enough time to make it down to the tree lighting. And I mentioned it last year
That's
to Krista,
fine.
and the time has changed, so it's, want to note it for the people who would normally not take part in it
Yep.
because of the time change is good. I think we will get an awful lot more people there this year.
All right. Perfect.
Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And the final item, Your Worship, we received some quotations for audio-visual equipment that is necessary for that tree lighting ceremony. And of course, the lowest bid there is Eastern Audio Limited with $524.32 with taxes included. So we're moving that we accept that bid from Eastern Audio, and I do so move.
It is moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
That's it.
Thank you. Corporate Services, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item here are some tax deferrals for low-income earners. And we have 3 roll numbers there and the amounts indicated. And this is in accordance with our policy for our low-income earners, and I move that these be accepted as presented.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Aker. Yes? Okay. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is a request for proposal for digital office equipment. The committee was advised that the digital multi-function devices at City Hall, which I think are our copiers and fax machines, and at City Hall and the depot, have reached the end of their life. The 5-year lease obligation is up. So we're recommending now that we award the RFP to Pinnacle Office Solutions, the sole bidder, for $1,100 plus HST per month. And just to note that this will see a reduction of approximately $700 per month. So I move that we proceed with that.
Mm-hmm. It is moved and it is seconded. Can I ask a question? What happens to the old equipment?
I'm not sure.
Does that get returned to the supplier, or do we get to own it?
I'm not certain on that. I'd have to check with Rick Dunphy on that one. But yeah, because it is on lease, but I don't know what type of lease it is, whether the ownership would sort of revert to us or whatever. Right?
Well, I mean, if we're going to save that amount of money, if we're going to save over $5,000 a year for 5 years by making this change, if for a couple of grand, I'm just, blowing steam here, and for $2,000 cash or whatever it might be, there's got to be some buyout on this stuff, Mr. Silver.
Those machines are almost always leased.
I would buy them out. I'd buy them out and let's give them to some local group here in town who could use them, some charity group or
We
something.
could check into that. It's a good idea.
I could check into what.
Just check into it. I mean, if we're talking $10,000 or $15,000, something out of the.
Right.
But I recall the last time we did this, we bought equipment and gave it to, I'm going to say the Sport Alliance, but we put it in the volunteer center or something. We bought that equipment for like $10. It was like our buyout was like a $10 bill. But
the maintenance agreement on these, Your Worship, is enormous.
Yeah, we might not be able to do
it. The cost of the actual, usually they're leased, and when you have the lease in there, the actual maintenance agreement on the copiers is what's exorbitantly
so it really
expensive.
digs high, yeah.
And that includes even the purchase of ink, the servicing of the machine, all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised if there was a buyout option on it. If there is, and it can be cheaply maintained, but I think you're going to find that the maintenance of it is way more than
I would
any
just like for the
associated with
city,
capital
if we could do it and not have to simply send it back,
Sure.
and it could help some group out there and our community, I'd love to do it.
Well, we'll check into it.
Anyway, Councillor Stiles.
I just had a question. It was only one bidder. This was the only bidder that
Pinnacle was the only bidder.
Pinnacle was the only bidder on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's rather surprising.
That's really surprising. I'm amazed by that. It was advertised in the paper and everything. And, I mean, how do we send out the I'm just wondering because
We had a minimum of 3.
I know we've had
no,
complaints.
we didn't call anybody. We put out a request for proposal. So this went in the paper.
We did. We put out the request, so this wasn't something where we went out and got. This would obviously be.
So this went into Mount Pearl Matters, for example.
Yeah.
But I know we've had complaints.
Would it have been on our website? Do we put these things on our website?
I'm not sure if we actually had this one on our website. I don't believe we have lately, but that said, there's no reason we can't in the future. But no, like I say, this wouldn't have been something where we went out looking for quotes. This would have been something where we put out a request for proposals.
Yeah.
This was all we got.
And that was the only one who came back with a bid in
All right,
time.
no, because
based on I guess the specs that we had put out.
Yeah. Last time we did it, I know it was one particular company came to us complaining because they didn't get the tender and they didn't bid on it. So I'm a little bit surprised.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't even bid when they came in and met afterwards.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it was a big uproar here when this happened last time when it came through, and I'm just curious and I guess a little bit disappointed that they didn't even bid on it.
Well, a little
you almost like to call them and say, But,
well,
but no, I'm
can't
just
really
saying,
do that.
They kicked up such a fuss the last time.
All right. Anyway, we've got to call the question on this. This is for new. I love that digital multifunction devices. This is for copiers. All those in favor? Contrary minded. Motion is carried.
It sounds much nicer this way, doesn't it?
Digital. It's the bureaucrats in the building, man. That's right. That's right. We added $400 a month for that.
Well, we're still saving $700. So
there you go.
That's good.
That's good.
Next item, Your Worship, is the invoices for council approval. We have 10 listed there, and they total $525,468.21. And I move that these amounts be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded. Item number 3. What's a Nortrax snowblower? That's not a big one. A big one's more than $124,000, isn't it?
Well, it's $124,000, so it's a little bigger than the one I got, I think. The actual specs, I don't know.
What is it? Is it like a sidewalk blower, or is it a biggie?
I will admit I'm not 100% certain on that, just looking at the invoice, but I mean, I don't know if it's the front piece that goes on to the loaders or if it's a small piece.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Usually, most of our snow blowers, well, we have obviously the smaller sidewalk.
We got to replace Mr. Lush, don't we, guys?
Yeah. we had a refit of our blower a couple of years ago. That was almost $250,000 just to refit.
Well, that's why I'm saying it couldn't be a big new snow blower. It would have been a $500,000.
Like Mr. Silver said, the actual blower that connects to the.
Well, yeah, and most of them are actually, because most of what our blowers actually connect onto the front of our front end loaders. Okay. So you wouldn't usually purchase both of them together. It would usually be 2 separate pieces, right? Because our loaders obviously would be used for, they just have the regular buckets on them in the summertime.
I also had a question, Your Worship, 2 questions actually. The Claims Pro thing is interesting.
What is that?
I don't know.
I didn't know if I should ask about it or not.
Yeah, well, we will.
Okay, let's ask about it. Claims Pro, $10,000 settlement of claim. What claim?
It's this is a bodily injury claim from the Reed Center, October 3rd, 2010. And this was with an individual. The final settlement was negotiated with our insurance company, and of course now they're requesting payment of the deductible.
And the payment of the and the deductible was $10,000, or
Yes. $5,000, isn't it? All our deductibles was $5,000.
this is bodily injury. I'm not sure.
We have is 10,000. The deductible is 10,000.
Okay.
Should this have been here?
On that. I had another question, Your Worship, if you could.
Go ahead.
Normally our street upgrading program is handled by Bay New Plan, and we have an allocation here of $6,740 to Stantec. What involvement would Stantec have on the street upgrade?
$6,740. Stantec.
It's funny because the invoice I have here in the package is actually Bay New Plan.
Maybe
they did it on behalf of Bay New Plan.
Yeah, maybe it's the service that Bay New Plan.
Yeah, and actually, Stantec actually it's coming under cover from Bay New Plan, but the actual support behind it is Stantec, so it is actually coming through Bay New Plan.
All right. Okay. All right.
Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions at all, guys? We'll call the question then. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried. That ends the corporate services. Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Aker, Planning and Land Use, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item we have here is the Bell Mobility wants to put a cell phone antenna and associated electrical shelter and perimeter fencing down near 1 to 5 Park Avenue, which is really the rear of Hotel Mount Pearl. An application of this type basically must be processed according to a public consultation process, given that I think there's 3 things kicked in here. Basically, based on the open space and the general commercial zoning, basically this is a discretionary use, plus there's variances can be allowed under the antenna regulations and under the building height regulations as well. So basically we had a public consultation process associated with that. That happened back in July and August. We did the usual thing. We we advertised in the Telegram what the applicant was intending on doing. We also fanned out within 150 meters and notified the residents in the area. And we had a briefing session that was also scheduled. And basically we received some minor inquiries, no negative feedback. Nobody wanted to attend the briefing session. So based on the results that came back in that regard, with public consultation, the planning committees looked at it and were in favor of moving ahead with it. We also did some external consultation with the Department of Work Services, with Newfoundland Power, City of St. John's and the like. Basically no negative feedback came back, and we went through an internal discussion amongst all the departments with the city, and there's really no reason that we shouldn't go ahead with this. The only concern I have is the aesthetic look of the particular antenna, and we'd like to basically add that to one of the conditions here. And you see it written up in your but we'd like to basically
you want a condition that says, and you must make the antenna pretty?
But when you get into aesthetics, it's very difficult basically to say
how you going to do
what
that?
you just said, right? You know what I mean? But generally speaking, for example, you don't want it to be well lit up like a Christmas tree, painted bright orange. It'd be nice to see if it was basically something that blended in with the surrounding countryside. This is near the
We
Waterford
have to make it look
River.
like a spruce tree.
Well, could be. If it was green, for example, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know how that gets done. And keep in mind, this is not really our jurisdiction, too, right? This is federal jurisdiction. The federal government, in licensing these antennas, relies on municipalities and their feedback from their residents to go ahead with this, right? So I'm going to move the antenna based on the process that has happened to date.
Moved by Councilor Rager, going to be seconded by Deputy Mayor. A civic address, really, to be assigned for this?
Yes,
it's going to have its own civic address.
I'm assuming that's partly driven by the finance department, who at the end of the day will be able to, and will be getting some taxation from this particular property. So that's a good thing. And you know, in today's world, Your Worship, you know, it's all driven by information technology, electronic communication. This is really a good thing. This is not to cover any dead spots in the cell phone coverage. This antenna, as I'm told, is needed because there's so much growth in the cell phone activity. They just need more towers in the area in order to handle the volumes, right?
Amazing stuff. All right, we will call the question, and unless anybody else has another comment, if not, we'll call it. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Thank you. The second item is a confirmation of an order. Regards 20 Alston Street EMS Services. There is a development application in process. No permit has been issued, and a stop work order was issued on November 7th. And I'd like the approval of council to confirm that stop work order.
Okay, confirmation of the issuance of the order. Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next up.
No, I just wonder, can we get the details of what's happening there that we issued an order?
Well, if the CAO could answer.
No, sorry, I can't actually. Obviously, some work
Well,
being carried out there
the
without
City
a
of Mount
permit.
Pearl-
We were waiting for additional information. I know that from the planning department.
Take notice, while the development application had been received, the city was awaiting the submission of further and revised information to be able to continue with the processing. To this date, the City of Mount Pearl has not issued any development permit or building permit for this proposal. That proceeding with development work without permits contrary to the Urban and Rural Planning Act. So that's what the stop work order is, Councillor Walsh.
Okay, but obviously an application had been received, but it wasn't fully compliant.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah. It's in the infancy stages.
Yeah.
The work is not.
I think probably would be a good idea, Your Worship, when we issue stop orders, that we either be made aware of them, at the time that they're issued, at or about the date of the 7th, and also maybe that we be given a bit of an update either in a public forum like this or another forum as to, what the nature of the stop order is.
I think what we're dealing with here, to be honest with you, this is a classic case of our iPad. Because normally this would have come as a written document, and the explanation, which I just read to you from, would be attached to it. that's
Yeah.
actually there.
And I can read
yeah.
what's there, but it doesn't give you any of the background.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Thank you. We call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is 3 development permits, numbers 59, 60, and 61, including number 59 is for the test pits on 1 to 5 Park Avenue. So as we just approved that application for buildability, I guess their work is continuing at high pace. And I also move those development permits.
Next, we see the development on the Old Centre Road, right? It's the dental office that, went through a discretionary application. That's the church, former church.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that that's proceeding.
Mr. Abbott, I think, is the proponent there.
Yeah, Dr. Abbott.
That's very good. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Now, the next items is the building permits, residential for the period, and the period is, you know me now, October 30th, November 11th, $788,500, and I so move.
Moved. All those in favor? Contrary-minded?
Construction permits for
Motion
commercial
carried.
is $30,000 for the same period, and I so move.
Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
We are under new business. The next item, we are going to go to Councillor Tessier. Last meeting we started on that side, this week. Councillor Tessier.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I have a couple of things. Several good news items, actually. Myself, Councillor Aker, and Deputy Mayor, were you there as well? I'm not sure if you were at the Mount Pearl Soccer Hall of Fame. Mount Pearl Soccer Association held their Hall of Fame event this past week. They inducted 4 new members into the Hall of Fame. Roger Rutgeiser. Yeah, I think he's been living away for quite some time. I don't know that gentleman, but he was honored. Tom McGrath, Bob Hillier, of course, no stranger to any of us here, and Raylene Dunn Baggs. And I want to publicly congratulate everybody who's inducted into the Hall of Fame again. And I just wanted to touch on how important the Hall of Fame with Mount Pearl Soccer Association is. They've been in existence. The association has been in existence for nearly 40 years. This is their 39th year. And they're acknowledging people who've been there since the very beginning, builders who've been there since the very beginning, which is outstanding. And it was wonderful to see so many former members there as well, members of the Hall of Fame. They've estimated that some over 30,000 athletes have gone through the Soccer Association in the last 40 years, which is just outstanding. Also, what was particularly special about this night is Raylene Dunn Baggs is not only the first woman to be inducted into the Mount Pearl Soccer Association Hall of Fame, she is also the first athlete to be inducted, and her father, Ben Dunn, are the first father-daughter combination. So there was a lot of firsts that night for Raylene. She's a very impressive woman, and I must say, I mean, everybody there had very impressive resumes with their association with soccer, and I have to say it was just a wonderful event to be a part of. They do a great job with it, and I wanted to congratulate everybody once again. We also had, last Tuesday in Chambers, we had the Pearl Awards for Urban Design and Gardens, which was also another wonderful event, and I want to commend every member of the staff with planning and with community services who were involved in that. It was a really beautiful evening, and everybody who was involved either as a nominee or as a judge or just to be there, to be a part of it. The Minister O'Brien was there as well, Your Worship. It was a really lovely evening, and we had, I guess there was just some people who walked away with their awards. Sorry?
He likes us.
Who? Minister O'Brien? Sure
he
knows
likes
that.
Mount Pearl. Yep.
Sure knows that. Why wouldn't he?
He likes the way. He likes the way. How did he term it? He likes the way we do our business.
Well.
And I thought that was very nice.
Noted.
Can't knock that, boy.
Noted.
Yeah.
Jean Aitken won the award for excellence in gardens. I wanted to congratulate her. And One Centennial Street Condominiums actually won for urban design.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the day when we first saw the concept plan of that come across our desk. So it's pretty nice to see that happen as well. We attended this week as well a roast and toast for Minister Denine.
Which I was sorry I never got there, but this cold has taken me down.
No, and understandably. It was a lovely event. And we were commenting earlier, myself and the Deputy Mayor were commenting earlier how...
So who roasted him?
Pat O'Keefe. Yeah, Sean Skinner. And a friend of his from golf. And I must say, they all did a lovely job. It was interesting and it was fun.
I had my chance, you know.
Well, you should have done it.
And
should've
I
done
had
it.
my Pat called me last week and said, "Will you go roast?" I said, "I'll come to the event. I'm going to roast him at this point," because I didn't have time to come up with stuff. But then I got this cold, so I couldn't go. Deputy Mayor Brock Readings?
Absolutely.
Excellent. You couldn't do it. You had nothing bad to say about it.
I couldn't say anything bad.
You don't know him very well.
You obviously, I'm going to say, you obviously never served in public office with him, did you?
Yeah, but anyway, it was a really fitting event. I think that Dave himself really enjoyed it when he got up to the mic, and this is what I was going to say earlier. He got up to the mic to thank people and acknowledge the event, and it was very difficult to get him away from the mic, in fact, because he acknowledged that this is not going to happen that often. So it was really.
Politicians don't truly retire.
No, it's in his blood, and we've been very lucky that it's been in his blood actually for the past 25 years or so. Now, last bit of good news. At the M&L convention 2 weeks ago, Mount Pearl received a very prestigious award ourselves, actually. We received, for environmental sustainability, the Torngat Award, which is very exciting, actually. And this is an award that focuses on environmental sustainability, which should be at the forefront of municipal concerns with all different elements, wastewater, water treatment infrastructure, and there's some pretty strict criteria. There's innovation, which of course we know this is in regards to the glacier expansion. And with innovation, of course, we know that there's lots of innovative techniques being used in that building, waste heat recovery, water recovery. The long-term benefit, of course, we know that from an environmental perspective, we've done a great service to the residents of Mount Pearl with that particular development, public involvement, cooperation, sustainability, and of course the list goes on, transferability. So it was a wonderful honor, I believe, for us, and I'm sure that we will not see the end of developments like this within the province. We're continuing on as best we can, and I'd encourage other municipalities to do the same. We're all wearing our lapel pins, which are like a little badge of honor, very proudly, and I would like to take this opportunity, Your Worship, to present you with the actual award itself.
I got to say, thank you very much. Isn't that wonderful, guys?
Beautiful.
Oh, it's heavy, too.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It is. Whoa, careful. It has changed over the years, but
I know.
But when this award was established,
Yep.
well, I was president.
Is that right?
Yes, we brought this award in.
Wow.
And it's the second time Mount Pearl has had a win.
It is the second time. The first
Yeah.
time that Mount Pearl won was actually the year that I got elected.
Mm-hmm.
I got elected, and we went to the convention very shortly after that, and I very happily presented the lapel pin that I was given to Bernice Miller, who was on council at the time, who quite rightly deserved acknowledgement as.
But you're going to keep this one.
Oh, I'm keeping this one. This one's mine. We won the Torgat Award. I can't remember what it was for
It
initially.
was for municipal excellence, but I'm not sure what it was.
Awareness Week.
Municipal.
Municipal
our
Awareness
activities
Week.
during Municipal
Yes,
Awareness
yes.
Week. Yeah.
So
I think
anyway,
we set out to win it that year. That's why we did what we did.
it's quite an honor for us to receive that award, and
Beautiful.
I think we should be very proud and really proud of our residents for supporting everything that we've done with Glacier 2, and look forward to more future endeavors just like it.
I love it. They got the Torngats in there, right?
Yep.
The Torngat Mountain, by the way, is the highest mountain peak in the province, right? That's what it's supposed to represent. I think that's great. Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
I don't have anything, Your Worship, but Councillor Tester touched on a couple of ones that I was going to bring up. So.
Pretty well did it all. All right, I want to, we're to me now. I'm just going to go on down the line just to say, Councillor Walsh, I may never let you go back to the O'Donnell cap and gown again. I had the pleasure this week of doing it. Because you've been doing it for years, and where he was principal there, I've always taken the invitation and said, look, do you want to go do this? I do it with you as well, because you're at the other school. I went to this thing Wednesday. Man, what a beautiful ceremony to do. What a great job they do. Your colleague, Mr. Sutton, showed up. Snuck up to the stage, and he wasn't on the agenda or anything, but the kids just insisted that he had to have a few words to say, and they had to recognize him and do their thing.
He's a great guy.
What amazed me were the achievements of these young people. And I know not all of them are from Mount Pearl, but I wanted to claim them all. Over 34% of the students graduating this year won some kind of award. Over 35%, I think it was, graduated with honors. Over 80% of the graduating class at O'Donnell in 2011 beat the provincial average in all public exams. All of them. And so we sit back and look at what our kids do every now and again, and we look and we go, right? What's wrong with these children? There's something wrong. But when you look at these kids going across the stage, and the principal is just reading out all of these awards, and you're piling on plaques and money and scholarships. You go, we're in pretty good hands after all. We really are. So I'm not sure, but I really enjoyed it, is what I'm saying to you. I had a good time.
Yeah, don't enjoy too much.
You want to go back to it again. You want to do it again next year.
My old stomping grounds.
Your old stomping grounds. They were missing you as well. They were missing you there as well. Of course, you made reference to Councillor Tessier, the wreath laying. We've got to get more audio down there, and I think the city has got to join hands with the Legion, recognize that they don't know how to do this, so they don't have the wherewithal to do this, so we're going to do it.
If I may?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Actually, on I keep saying Sunday because it was a long weekend. On Friday, just after the event, I actually emailed Mr. Tremarny and asked him to put it on our agenda to see what we can do to partner with the Legion to help with that event as well, because you're absolutely right. The weather didn't help, but the audio was a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important.
Yeah, the
that
people right out in front could hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there may have been, and I think there have been, as I recall, many years where that was adequate.
Yeah. Well,
you had,
it's not
you had a couple of hundred people.
Yeah.
But when you get like 1,000 people, and it spreads out into the parking lot to the side of the building, they really can't hear. They can't hear taps. They can't hear the call for the 2 minute silence.
It's really important that we acknowledge all. That we're able to hear all of the groups and individuals who are laying wreaths, because they're all for a purpose. And this event deserves a lot more, I guess, attention from us as a city as well. So we're going to take care of it.
Yeah, just making a little note of that. But it was a tremendous turnout once again, and a beautiful job done by everybody involved. And hats off to the Legion. Afghanistan has played a significant role in this, but I was really pleased to see how many parents brought little kids. I was shocked at how many parents brought their little kids, the 9 and 10-year-olds and everything like that. So all that's great, and that was on Friday. You mentioned the Torngat Mountains Awards, which obviously we're very, very proud of as a city. So now I'm going to move on. Councillor Stoyles.
I do have a couple of things, Your Worship. First of all, I wanted to mention Tina sent us information this afternoon about the Greenwood Bridge being just about completed, and she sent pictures. I actually didn't get up to see it the past week, but I certainly will be up in the next few days and have a look at it. I been there during construction, and I knew that they had done a lot of work up there, but it's great to know. The residents have sent me emails and that over the past number of weeks saying that they're quite pleased that it's going to be done and completed before the winter, so I wanted to mention that. Also, Your Worship, I wanted to thank Gary Fraser. Gary attended the DEAR program today. I was supposed to attend it this morning and got tied up with a medical appointment this morning and couldn't make it, but Gary, on last minute's notice, went and presented some of the certificates at the school for the DEAR program, and I wanted to say hats off to all the students that did the program, and again, thank you to Gary for stepping in at the last minute and doing that on my behalf. The last thing I wanted to mention, Your Worship, is the regional meetings for M&L. The next one, of course, is going to take place in Mount Pearl on December the 10th, and actually the board is going to meet here. We have City Hall booked Thursday and Friday, and Saturday all day we have the Mount Pearl Hotel booked for a regional meeting, so I'm hoping some of the colleagues around here will come, and there's going to be an information session. All the information will be sent out next week to all the councils in the region. Some have already gone out to save the date, so I look forward to hosting and chairing that regional meeting in Mount Pearl on December the 10th. That's it, Your Worship.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. Unfortunately, I missed the November 11th Remembrance Day ceremonies, but I know they're always beautiful. I want to mention, by the way, the day after the cap and gown at Lisa O'Donnell, I'm sure they do something very similar at senior high as well. They have a tremendous the ceremony is actually very well put together and has a great impact on the young people. If you've never had a chance to see it, I tell you, it would be well worth the while of any member of council or senior staff who could get in to see they just do a fabulous job with it, and it's extremely moving. I don't want to just mention that. I just want to throw out there again in terms of the epitaph and the ceremony. We've been talking for years, and I know we're going to try to do something hopefully over the next period of time. The current location for the epitaph is really associated with what was once a very active Legion building. The city now owns the building. It's called Park Place. We run programs there primarily for a seniors independence group. There is a small part of the building that's for the Legion as well, but I can't help but wonder how much more beautiful and appropriate and a more appropriate space it would be if we had that located in a park-like setting where people could come not just once a year but on a more routine and regular basis and see it in a park-like setting. I think as part of our plans and the Recreation Master Plan is there. I know Councillor Tessier and her committee are looking at that. We were looking at it and talking about it during my tenure as chair of community services, but I'd just like to get it out there that the whole idea of even considering this at some point in the future is to make it a more appropriate, respectful place where you'll have visitors visiting there and paying respects every single day. And ultimately, I'd like for for us to consider that one day. Of course, it will happen, but maybe down the road. And I know it's really difficult because a lot of the current Legion members, have difficulty with actually moving the location because of the history, I guess, associated with it. But the upside of that is, if it's in a park and it's in a more suitable location, I think in the end they'll be even more pleased with the result. A couple of things. Torngaddis has been mentioned, but I think it was a great achievement. I want to thank Jason, actually. We put him on the hot seat for a couple of questions earlier on, and he did very well with that, and he's going to have to continue to do very well for another month or so. But I think the competition for director is actually closed. I asked the question earlier today. We've got a number of good candidates. Of course, we leave all that in the hands of staff. We don't get involved in any way in that. But I just want to thank you, Jason, for filling in. I know it's difficult. We were at a meeting today at the wastewater treatment plant. Maybe I'm thanking you too early because, it was still a month to go. But I know it's really busy. In fact, even knowing where to track them down these days, you call City Hall here, or you may catch them at the depot. So it's a real busy job. We don't expect you to have, have top of mind of all the different files, obviously, but you're doing a great job, and it's great to have a person to go to, when you need a question answered. And if you don't have the answer, very quick to get it. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And is working on the budget besides. So it's all good.
Well, he's earning his money. But rest of you take note.
But it's extremely busy. Last thing I want to mention, Your Worship, is the election. This time next Tuesday, we'll be into an actual election.
That's right.
So the by-election is just a week away. I have to say all three candidates, and they are Harry Bartlett, Rose Clark, and Andrew Ledwell, all running tremendous campaigns, high-profile campaigns. Three good candidates. Mount Pearl really can't lose. And I want to wish them well. We all know how tough campaigning can be and in terms of how busy it is and so many different things on your plate all at the same time. But it's even more challenging, I think, this time of the year. This is not a great time in terms of season. It's cold, it's rainy, it's dark, and people actually very much dislike you going to their door in the dark. I've actually had comments made about that, even when I was campaigning myself, and we have the luxury of doing it in September months, but once it gets dark, people are a little reticent to answer the door. Some people, I should say, are. So hats off to all three candidates for putting the name forward. One candidate only obviously will be successful, and that's a little bit of a different dynamic than in a general council election. All these candidates are fully aware of that. In a council election, you get to vote for up to 6 people, whereas in a by-election, you can only vote for 1. So good luck to all of them, and we'll find out who our newest colleague will be, I guess, next Tuesday night.
Absolutely. Councillor Aker.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and further to that, I think advanced polling is this Saturday here at City Hall. And on polling day, which is a week from today, Park Place, Reed Center, and Mary Queen? And Masonic Park. Thank you. Yeah.
I wasn't going to vote, by the way, next Tuesday. Said I'll stay away from that because I know all three of these people, right? My wife got on a flight today, and before she did yesterday afternoon, she handed me a proxy sheet and said, "You have to go vote for me." Here.
Now you're caught.
So there you go, you're caught. She's gone.
I went down through my list, Your Worship, and everybody's covered off everything. Hats off to all of you. One thing, though, Sophie Sinyard was named Fire Chief for the day.
She was.
Last week, and I hosted, me and Mona Lewis, our deputy clerk, hosted Sophie.
Had a bit
She's
of fun
grade
with
five,
her. I
grade
heard her on the
five.
radio. Boy, she's
She
bubbly.
was on TV and everything with
Yeah,
Mike Dwyer.
really bubbly.
Right? Alpera
Yeah.
was part of the St. John's Regional Fire Department, and Councillor Walsh and I sit on the committee, and I remember seeing Captain Dwyer basically meeting her in the morning and basically saying, we need 2 fire trucks. Now, the people you meet later on the day, make sure
Tell
you
'em
get
we-
them fire trucks, right? But Sophie's in grade 5 at St. Peter's Elementary, and she won a coloring contest.
Yep.
And in speaking to her, she not only won the coloring contest, but she lives fire safety. So congratulations to Sophie, and that's all I have, Your Worship. Thank you.
Amen. That was great. Yeah, she was really good, really great. All right, that's everything. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Walsh. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.